Now, for the past 7 days, Bob Iger, the new Disney CEO, who recently took over Chapek, who was also a previous Disney CEO, even before Chapek became one, of course, he has been shifting a lot of things around, not just for Star Wars, but also for Marvel, the treatment of future Disney movies, and a whole lot more on the horizon as well. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way, guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, Bob Iger is really trying to pretty much tame the panic over at Disney. So for those of you that have been unaware, they've been panicking over what happened with Marvel Phase 4. It wasn't the biggest success as they wanted it to be. And also on top of that, the latest Star Wars TV shows like Kenobi and Boba Fett didn't really receive the right amount of fan attention that they wanted to reach. Now, yes, Andor did a pretty solid job with getting, good fan reception, but there's no doubt about it that Disney wants to do way better this time around with the Star Wars franchise, and they want to bring it back up to that Phase 2 Marvel level in order to really bring Star Wars to a level that we have never seen before when it comes to budgets and how many people it reaches, fan interest, and stuff like that, right? So, with that being all said, alright, one thing that a lot of fans have been very concerned about is exactly what Bob Iger is doing behind the scenes over at Disney and what he's ordering Lucasfilm to do. We already talked about this, that one good plus about Bob Iger is that he is now focusing on movies again, and he's going to be announcing more about this next year. It's not just going to be one spin-off film a year. They want to eventually get multiple trilogies out, which, by the way, is what they are doing behind the scenes, while also including a spin-off film on the side. So roughly 2 movies a year is their main goal of what they want to achieve. Now, with that being said, alright, with Disney and Lucasfilm now getting ready to develop new Star Wars TV shows for the fans with a range of announcements coming soon, it's noted, however, that behind the scenes, Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, is already pre-planning something substantial over at Disney on when he plans to quit and leave from the company and permanently retire this time around. Now, the 71-year-old is now and has been having conversations with board members and is planned to leave Disney by 2025. Alright, so he wants to get out of there by 2025. Now, in that, he only plans to stay at Disney for 2 years until the board finds somebody else to rightfully run the company efficiently and properly for franchises like Marvel and Star Wars. As of now, Bob Iger is trying to fix both, of course, franchises and the series like Kenobi and Boba Fett not getting great fan reception. Also, they are using that as proof to kind of move things along as well. Now, on top of this, guys, one thing that we do know about Bob Iger is that he is really trying to correct the wrongs that he made with the sequel trilogy, with his treatment of the Star Wars franchise when Kathleen Kennedy had a lot more creative power back in the day. And so it really is a very interesting time to watch all of this happen before our very own eyes. Now, moving on to the next thing. Now, Iger is already planning his departure by the very beginning of 2025 in order to focus on retirement. As of now, Iger is also working closely with John and Dave on how they can fix the Star Wars franchise and turn things around as fast as possible. And Filoni and Favreau are already handling that themselves behind the scenes over at Lucasfilm. With Iger now wanting Star Wars to focus on movies, he is planning to make his strategy grandfathered in to Disney, since when whoever takes over cannot change a successful strategy for Star Wars. So let's just make this clear of what Bob Iger is doing. He is making things grandfathered into the actual company. This way, whoever takes over Disney is not going to be able to change anything related to putting out more movies for Star Wars as opposed to TV shows. So he wants to make it that nobody else can really reverse any of that. Now, that's what I like about this entire strategy, is that Bob Iger is making sure that Star Wars is going to remain in the theaters, regardless of if he's there or if he's not there. So that's what they want to do. They want to focus on movies and not TV shows as much. Now, that's not to say that TV shows are going to vanish and disappear. They just want to actually limit the amount of shows that they put out and focus more so on the films, with TV shows being, you know, more like an aid, if you will, like a supplement to the movies, kind of like a side thing, not the main thing per se. So, with that being said too, another thing that I think a lot of fans absolutely need to know, we talked about this yesterday, that Bob Iger wants to get rid of Kathleen Kennedy by August of 2023, roughly, of course, around 2 months after the release of Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Destiny. Alright, so at that point, her obligations to, you know, press interviews and stuff around those lines will be all long done and over for Indy 5, and that's when they plan to give her the boot. Now, there's a lot of things happening with that, because he wants Ron Howard to take over as Lucasfilm president. If that goes haywire, then he's looking at David Heyman, the guy who was involved heavily in the Harry Potter films. So, there's a lot of great things coming out of this, and there's a lot of ambitions by Bob Iger. The biggest and most important question of all is, will he actually succeed with Star Wars when it comes to movies? Now, again, as we discussed, they already have 3 new trilogies in the works. They have, of course, the new sequel trilogy movies, as we talked about. That's going to be labeled as basically a Mandalorian trilogy of movies that they want to get out in theaters. That's going to feature Din Djarin, Luke, Ahsoka, etc., on the big screen. Alright? Those are just 3 movies there. Then they also have Favreau and Filoni pre-working on an Old Republic trilogy, and the more distant project is episodes 10 through 12, and giving it one final shot at the Skywalker saga coming to a close once and for all. So that's what they're planning to do. Now, of course, the 10 through 12 films are a ways out. They don't plan to begin production on that, as we talked about this, until 2026. They want to get books called episodes 10, 11, and 12 out first, by the end of 2024 first, get the fans familiar with that, and then make the movies based on those books loosely. So, on top of this too, given that Bob Iger is planning to get out of Disney by 2025, we're talking January of 25, give or take, and that really makes you wonder, who's going to take over? You know, who's really going to take over Disney as a company that's going to be able to take the weight of handling successful franchises potentially at that point in time with Marvel and Star Wars, right? We see that Marvel Phase 5 is going to have a improvement. You know, you got all these new Avengers movies coming out, you got a new Spider-Man trilogy coming out, so they got that, and now what they want to do, like I discussed, they want Star Wars to be on that Marvel level, being, of course, focused on films. So overall, guys, you know, I think that Bob Iger at least is trying to make an effort, and that's one good thing to actually look forward to. At least he's not reversing some things right off the flip of a dime and making things worse just because. So at least he's making an improvement to a degree. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon.